let's go over here and talk about Cory's monumental painting, which is just such a showstopper and obviously very on point with the theme. But why don't you talk a little bit about where the image comes from? Is it real? Is it imagined? All of those fun things.
So I grew up in Pittsburgh in the 80s. It was at the tail end of the steel industry. Everything was being destroyed and knocked down. Thousands of jobs lost, whole communities decimated. And when I was young, I just thought, well, they closed the mills, so the jobs left. And then, as I got older, and then especially starting to work in the subject matter, a lot of the images are from historic photos, photo archives. I'll look at thousands of them. Like, it's a great rabbit hole to go down. And then a lot of times I'll just make my own images out of those, sketching, and then apply it to this is a wood panel. But to me, the idea was, how do I show the scale and power of the steel mills? And, through this patterns project, what I started to learn more and more when I was researching and reading about steel and talking to my relatives who had worked in mills was it was way more than just a job. It's a real creative process. So any foundry, forge, mill, manufacturing center that you go into, the people that work there are brilliant. They're experts in materials. They're experts in physics, chemistry, and they're not afraid to fail. They're being given these problems by their customers and clients that no one can solve, and no one has ever been asked to solve them. So they have to figure it out on the fly. So it really, to me, struck a nerve with what the Industrial Revolution was all about, were super intelligent people that weren't afraid to get their hands dirty. They had no technology to work with. There was no CAD, no CNC machines, no computers, but somehow they were able to draw all the designs by hand, build all the patterns by hand, cast these things, machine them without any help, and build everything. And I wanted to tell that story. It started off as historic representation. We're moving into contemporary processes and showing what they're doing today. They build everything: aerospace, power grid modernization, solar, wind. All the components for these things come through manufacturing and industry, but they're not good at telling the story. So I kind of saw this was a way for me to honor, my heritage and the shared industrial heritage, at the same time kind of help update public perception as to what these places do and what their necessity is, moving forward. So this is on, nice, clean wooden panels. The large sculptural piece behind you is done on a salvage pattern that was used to cast ladles. So they would have to make a wood mold the same size as this ladle to create the steel piece that then carries 80 to 100 tons of molten steel overhead all day long. And if you worked in there, that's a lot of responsibility. If you're not paying attention, if you're slacking, it's it could be injury or death to you or the people you work with. But when you leave, the entire environment around you, you've had a hand in building. You can point to your kids or to your friends and say, we built this. And there's a tremendous amount of meaning that's, imbued in that, which I think is being lost as we're moving away from hands-on activity and work, and kind of succumbing to the idea that we're controlled by technology instead of seeing it as a tool to help us improve our own work and controlling it to make greater and better things.
Yeah,
hope that answered it.
Thank you. And I hope all of you can come up close. Make sure you don't step on the eggs, even though those are much more resilient than regular eggs as they're made out of concrete. But come up and look at the texture of the work, because when you capture the wood grain coming through, it's just so absolutely beautiful and really takes your eye onto a really wonderful journey deep in there.